Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Hanna, Season 1, Episode 5. It is called Town. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, first things first. Last episode, I said, and if I recall correctly, my exact wording was, we should now be able to do these much quicker than the first few episodes.
You know, every time you say that on anything, it just goes wrong.
Yeah, but who's to blame for it in this case, Connor? Whose fault is it that the gap between episode 4 and 5 was bigger than any other episode?
I would have to say, that's the universe's fault.
Connor got sick and was out of action for like 5 days. And as a result, so much stuff piled up that Hanna just went put to the bottom of the pile, and it's taken us a while to get back to it. But here we are, Hanna episode 5. And we left last episode with Hanna fleeing to the UK to visit Sophie, or hide out with Sophie. And when we start this episode, she's already there. She's with Sophie. She's hiding. Her parents don't know she's there. She's hiding in the camper van in the garage. Sorry.
It's in the UK. It's a garage.
Sure. I'm just being considerate. And yeah, so it's kind of a downbeat episode. She gets talked into going to a party with Sophie at one point. And then eventually camping. It's a whole thing. Meanwhile, Sophie's parents are their marriage is breaking apart. Something that we'd seen had been building up the last time we saw them, and here it's kind of reaching boiling points. Where they're arguing at the table. They're arguing in front of the kids. He spends the night in the camper van at one point, and Hanna has to hide under the little bed that's in there.
Yeah, bit awkward.
Bit in the awkward side. Yeah, it's Sophie's quite the film-out teenager. She's dropping. She calls her parents C-bombs at one point, which
she does indeed.
Which I was like, oh, okay, all right. I mean, I remember swearing in front of my parents as a teenager. I do not recall using that on them. It's certainly not calling them that.
Yeah. I was. I'd swear around them, wasn't a problem. I may have said that, but never directed at them, for sure.
But I mean, the episode is largely Hanna, it's largely Sophie, and they go to this party, and Hannah's not really wanting to be there. She's kind of talked into it. She's sort of walking through it, kind of like a zombie. She clearly doesn't want to be there. I related heavily to Hanna for the first chunk of this scene, not wanting to be around all these drunk teenagers. I can relate.
That sounds terrible.
It sounds awful. She then kind of gets into. We've seen that she gets into it before. We've seen that she starts dancing, kind of lets her worries go away, and that kind of happens again. She starts drinking some booze and she starts dancing, and she catches the attention of a young man. Across the hall, or across the room rather, and they start kind of staring and smelling at each other a little bit. And normally, I think all the scenes with Hanna herself are handled very well in this show. I think this is maybe one that I'll critique a bit because I felt like this went on for a little bit too long, and it felt a little bit silly. Just how much they were kind of staring and just sort of like moving back and forth, like or around in a circle and looking at each other in the room across the party.
Yeah, no, I agree. It stuck out because most of these kind of beats have been very natural feeling throughout most of the show, and this one just didn't. It stuck out as there's the odd one out.
Yeah, it did. And I bet you love finding out that this guy was Anton, who is the guy that Sophie's had a crush on, and was the reason she wanted to come to the party.
I may have groaned a little bit. Because I was like, I see where this is going.
Yeah. And actually, I was surprised I didn't get to it in this episode. I thought, I thought it was going to build up and get to it, and actually have the climax and have Sophie catch her with it. And I was almost expecting it not to even go anywhere serious. Like, just like it'd almost be an innocent thing where they're just together, and she would realize that he likes Hanna, and that would create a rift. It actually goes much further than that, because by the end of the episode, they're straight up having sex, which I did not see coming.
No, me either.
I thought they were just going to make out, and then they start taking off their clothes, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Hanna's game. Sure, go for it. And the other kids, Sophie and her friend, are in the van, and the friend finds like some of the
redacted documents.
Yeah, but the U-Track stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of Hannah's stuff, but there was a lot of nice moments with Hannah though throughout the episode where she's like, just what there's a scene where she's kind of wandering down the street and she kind of starts dancing to herself a little bit.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very well performed. That was really nice. I also enjoyed her. She actually goes to a movie night that this Anton's throwing that Sophie doesn't go to, and and you know, for a second I was like, I recognize this movie. What's this movie? And then I got a couple more shots of it. And I'm like, oh, I do know what this movie is. And he turns to her and says, Do you like this? And she's like, no. And I thought, well, Hannah's just got points in my book because, yes, she would much rather be watching the original Dawn of the Dead, not this Zack Snyder remake crap. Thank you very much.
I knew this was coming.
Hanna has taste. She has integrity.
I'm not sure that's quite the point of the scene, but sure, why not?
Well, no, it's not. It's she's thinking about leaving her father. She's thinking about gunshots. She's thinking about the horrors she's been through. She's kind of got a little bit of, I don't want to quite call it PTSD, but you know, because at one point at the party as well, she goes out to the back door and there's like, you know, there's like sparklers or whatever going off, and she has kind of like almost like a vet flashback, to her father and the guns.
It's played like PTSD,
yeah,
for sure. But you know, she freezes. She stands there, and you know, the guys will start chucking popcorn at her to get her to, you know, sit down or move, and she just kicks him in the face.
Kicks him in the face.
Satisfying.
I did find that satisfying. Do you know, it's funny because I think this is maybe the first episode with Hannah herself where everything she's doing, I'm not necessarily seeing as being healthy. Like, I'm seeing a lot of what she's doing in this episode is almost her trying to mask how she actually feels about things. And it's, you know, it's all just vice. Oh, I can cover it with booze. I can cover it with dancing. I can cover it with like sex with this guy. It all kind of feels like she's leaning on things to just distract herself from what she's actually concerned about or what she's feeling. And you know, because I think in previous episodes, whenever she's had a moment like this where she's danced or she's basically found some childhood that she's never had before, it's been kind of sweet. I think in this episode it veered away from sweet and more along maybe a little destructive.
Yeah. I wouldn't even go as far as to say destructive, just dependent.
Okay, sure, dependent's maybe a better word, but you know, it stopped feeling just quite as sweet as it had before, and it started to feel like she was leaning on it a bit too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, that stuff was fairly well handled. I mean, the actual love triangle potential of this is a little bit frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, I'm never a fan of love triangles. Really, very, very rarely.
Once in a blue moon, you'll get something that works.
Like, no, you will. That's what I say rarely, because occasionally they can be pulled off.
That's one. I mean, I guess the one thing that's making this slightly more interesting, and it doesn't necessarily quite save it, the potential scenes we're going to get next episode when it's revealed and everything else. But the one thing that at least made it a little bit more interesting initially for me was just the idea that Hanna, even having to process that this is something that will bother Sophie, it was like a new experience. So she had to really think about it, and it was like she was having to understand the concrete jungle that she's entered into, and just the way people react with each other. That made it a little bit more interesting, just because it's she's kind of discovered. It's not like this is like some friend in high school who's doing something she knows she's not supposed to.
She doesn't necessarily realize.
Yeah.
That this, I think she gets pretty quickly that it's maybe wrong, but I don't think she realizes how bad it is to her friend. Yeah,
but there's that one point when she's looking at the magazine and Sophie's filled out the "Do you know you like him?" test.
Yeah.
And she's put, you know, what would you do if you saw him with another girl? And it was like, oh, I'd sucker punch the bitch or something like that was the answer.
She can try.
She can try. We know Hannah can take care of herself. I don't fancy Sophie's chances.
No. Actually, I think Hannah might actually just let her have one.
she might let her have the punch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because equally, I think Hannah can take the punch.
Sure, she can. Yeah.
She can take the hit, but yeah. So that side of the plot was good. It was subdued. It wasn't necessarily blowing me away like maybe some of the Hanna stuff has in the past.
Yeah, I think overall this is maybe one of the weaker episodes in the sense that, you know, typically I've been liking all the stuff with Hanna, but this stuff, you know, this is the first time where I've kind of gone, oh, okay, with this side of the plot, that, and And Hannah has consistently been my favorite stuff in the show
Yeah,
by quite a margin.
there's a lot of neat touches in there. Her acting's still very good throughout. And I want to swing over to Marissa's plot because I think I was saying last episode or two that she was starting to grow on me in terms of a character, just because it was when we saw her interrogate the guy, right? And she did the sort of the fake friendly stuff, and it was like, she's actually pretty good at this. Like the actress,
Yeah.
she's actually really good at doing this. And I wouldn't necessarily say her plot this episode is like invigorating on its own, but there was definitely a couple of scenes that I ended up quite enjoying, mainly through her performance. The first one with the douchebag who's taken over, she he's saying things. Oh, you had mental health issues, in 2003, and who could blame you? You had to murder, a bunch of children, and as a woman, and she just kind of cuts him off and says "f you." But her reaction to that stuff actually made this, because this scene would be boring otherwise, but her performance actually gave it some life.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Her performance is definitely the saving grace of these moments, because
Yeah.
a lot of it is kind of just exposition backstory, right?
Yeah. The other one that I liked was the therapist's office. Again, it was just the way she was responding to questions and refusing to answer questions. It was working very well, and her saying, because the therapist is like, oh, were you? Because obviously she was held captive by Eric for a bit. He's like, oh, were you feared for your life? She's like, nah, I wasn't scared. I'm fine. I'm not traumatized.
Yeah.
Don't you think that's weird? He's like, oh, there's scarier things than death. Like killing, for example, and then the children comes up, and it just, again, the scene is elevated by her performance.
It is definitely, yeah.
More than anything else. And then like the stuff with the husband, it's fine. It's not setting the world on fire. It's
A little bit tedious, I'll be honest. I mean, it's not the worst, but I feel like it's just treading water and just there.
well, no, I understand this inclusion though, because for me, what this is effectively doing is setting up her motivation, because she keeps having these moments where she's picking up the stepson or whatever, and she's hearing baby cries, and it's making her kind of zone out, and it's almost actually kind of relating quite nicely to Hannah's story, in that she kind of also has PTSD, and I am really starting to get that the reason why Marissa really cares about catching everyone involved in this is because I think she thinks that deep down she thinks that it'll erase what she did, that it'll erase it from the past, and it'll,
that's fair. I wasn't saying these scenes don't have a purpose. I think my problem is they're not enjoyable enough beyond just, okay, I get the point of them. They're functional, but they're not enjoyable.
I think as a whole, it's making her more interesting as a character. There's just individual scenes that maybe aren't that exciting to watch on their own. But
yeah,
she eventually actually finds where Hanna is through Instagram photos from the party, and I'm like, do you know what the thing about this is it feels so easy, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, this feels real. This feels so real that there was a house full of teenagers. Of course, she's all over Instagram.
Yeah,
and she knew about the family. She knew about Sophie, so she's just looking at Sophie's Instagram, and that's it. There you go.
Yeah. It's pretty easy because 2019's a bitch for that.
Pretty much. So yeah, she's on her way. She goes to the UK, and she's driving around looking for Hanna at the end of the episode. Meanwhile, Dieter is forced to give up Eric Keller's location to the government. He
tries to be loyal at first.
Tries to be loyal, but the guy goes to his house and has a red laser sight from across the street pointed at his son. This is probably my least favorite scene of the whole episode, just because it's like there's not much energy to it, and it just feels like bad guy cliche 101.
It is, isn't it? It's very much just, okay, let's just get this over and done with.
The scene felt painfully generic to me, and I didn't really I never grown to really care about Dieter or his family, and then on top of that, this guy who's in charge now of the mission, he's not that interesting. He's just kind of bland and generic.
He's a bit of a nobody, isn't he?
Yeah, lack of a personality. So
yeah,
because of that, this scene just kind of fell flat, which is a shame. But I'm still into the show. I do think we're definitely in a quiet period now before things kind of ramp up again.
Yeah, I suspect next episode might be similar to this, and then a big, explosive last couple.
Yeah, I have to imagine at some point Hannah's really going to have to protect Sophie from something.
Yeah.
Maybe even the whole family. Like, maybe they'll actually see, just how capable she is.
I think there's going to be some consequence with the family because the whole idea that she's just been hiding out with
Mm.
them, and she keeps telling herself, "Oh, I hate him. It's dangerous to have me around. Right? I should go." Um, and I think the fact that she's not told the rest of the family, they don't know that she's there, um, will lead to something, or should lead to something.
Bizarrely though, it's actually kind of Sophie who. Sophie convinces her not to go because Hannah's about to leave and she said, "No, I'm going to leave because it's too dangerous for me to be here." And Sophie convinces her to stay. Also, it's Sophie that convinces her to go to the party. And I'm not saying I'm blaming Sophie. Sophie's a dumb teenager who doesn't know better. But
Yeah, she doesn't know that she's on the run.
Yeah.
She thinks she's just run away from home. She doesn't think there's any reason why she can't have a picture taken.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting though that Sophie herself is kind of like a weakness for Hannah.
Yeah.
Not in a cruel way, not in a way where she shouldn't have friends, but because of her situation, she is a weakness, and she does keep giving into her. She gives into her and staying. She gives into her, and obviously, I think she wants to stay as well. I mean, I think she knows she should leave, but she wants to stay. So it's not a lot to convince her, but she does get convinced. Yeah. And I think that's something we'll have to deal with her character as she grows and through the story. So, yeah, we'll see. So that's episode 5. Of Hanna. So we'll be back in a shorter time span than it took to get to episode 5. I promise. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh God, you promised. It's screwed.
That's all I'm going to say is it'll be quicker. It took like 2.5 weeks to get to this episode, maybe even 3. So it has to be quicker than that.
I'm terrified of what's going to go wrong now that you've promised this.
Because in 3 weeks' time, a lot of other TV stuff pops up, and it'll be too late for it. So it's going to happen.
Yeah,
in the next few weeks.
Oh God, I wish it just don't say this in future. Just stop promising because.
No, I'm going to promise it, and if for whatever reason it's not delivered, it is assuredly Connor's fault, and you'll know it's him to blame. So here we are.
You're really like testing your luck with the universe here by putting that out there so firmly.
But that is us. So let us know what you thought of episode 5 of Hanna in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. We can support us for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses, get some exclusives, get some stuff early. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?